Okay, take your mask off. Let's get started. Hi, Northwest Fencing Center. I'm Coach Vince. Today we're going to be getting back to basics and we're going to be working on our footwork technique. Some of the things we're going to be working on today are the advance, the retreat, the check forward, the check back, the half step, the lunge, and the recovery. It's always good to revisit your basics. These footwork exercises can be done on a fencing strip. They can be done at home in your living room, or they can be done outside. If you grab some sidewalk chalk, a fencing strip is 14 meters long by 1.5 to 2 meters wide. In fact, it might be fun to build one. The good on guard position starts with the front leg turned out 90 degrees at the hip, the knee, and the foot. We have our feet shoulder width apart. Our knees are bent and they're tracking over our feet. So I don't want to see the legs turned in or the front leg turned in too much or out. From the on guard position with our bent knees, we have our head over our shoulders, over our hips. We have our arms out for balance with some space between the elbow and the ribs on either side. Our head is upright. You want the weight balanced. If you're too far forward, you're not going to get the mobility you need. If you're too far back, it's the same problem. So you want to find that Goldilocks solution right in the middle. So working on the advance, getting back to basics, and from a decent on guard position, what we're going to do is we're going to push off the back leg, move the front leg forward, heel toe. Okay, so if I do that again, you'll see me from a decent on guard position, my back leg turned out, my front leg turned out, my upper carriage balanced over my lower carriage, and advance. Okay, when we link them, it's advance, advance. Make sure you start with the front leg and finish with the back leg for each individual advance. For the retreat, we again start from the on guard position. With the retreat, what we're going to do is we're going to push off the front leg as the back leg leads, like that. Bent legs, carriage relaxed, pushing off the front leg, leading with the back leg. If we link them, it looks like this. Retreat, retreat. Some reminders: legs bent, feet stay the same distance apart as you move. On the retreat, I'm going to exaggerate the motion. So what you have is you have a real push off of the front leg as the back leg floats. So it looks like this. Now that's a large retreat, but it exemplifies what we're trying to do, which is push and reach almost with the back leg. So a smaller version looks like this, and a larger version looks like this. So the half step, we have the half step forward and we have the half step back. The half step forward is basically the first part of the advance. So it looks like this, but it's a smaller version of it. So if I do a large advance, I do this, my back leg comes in. If I do a small advance, it looks like this, and if I just finish right there, we have the half step forward. The half step back, same thing. I start with retreat, small retreat, and stop. A little bit of transfer of weight, small movement backward with led by my back leg, and in. So half step forward, half step back. The half step forward or the half step back is used to link your movements forward and back, and it's also used in the initiation of the check step. Either the check forward or the check back. For example, the check back starts with a half step forward, followed by a retreat. So we have a check back, which is a half step forward and a retreat. Now without the pause, it looks like this. Likewise, the check forward is begun with the half step back. Half step back, advance, gives me the check forward. Again, half step back, advance. Without the pause, it looks like this. The check steps, the half steps, the check steps, the advance and the retreat are all used to manipulate your opponent to set up the correct distance to prepare your final action, whether it's an attack, defense, counteroffensive action. One of the nice things about the check step is you're faking one direction and then actually switching direction. So if I do an advance, I move my entire body forward, and my target is that much closer to my opponent. So if my opponent is ready and waiting and maybe luring me in to try and get me to advance, I may fall right into a trap. So instead of doing the actual advance, what I do is the fake of the advance, and then I open up distance. Okay, same thing on the check forward. Is a real retreat might look like this. Yes, where the distance opens up between my opponent and myself. But if I do a check forward, I do the fake retreat, and then I close distance. The lunge is an offensive movement done by pushing off the back leg, lifting the front foot, lifting the toe, and landing on the heel. The arms are included. Let's talk about the feet and the legs first. From a decent on guard position, from here, I dig in to the ground with my foot, I push off my back leg. So if you look at my back leg from this moment, I'm down, I'm low, and I push. What you don't want to see is, oh, I'm going to lunge now. Lower and lunge. That tells your opponent you're about to lunge, and you don't want to tell your opponent what you're about to do. So from here, I'm already low, I'm already down on my leg, I push off the back leg. Leg snaps straight. The front leg for my lunge, what I'm going to do with the front leg is I'm going to lift the toe, and my heel is going to slide, almost slide along the ground like this. I'll show you again. Toe, heel. You do not want to lift the entire foot up and land. That's like an elephant. So instead, what we want to do is here. The coordination of the lunge is done in such a way that you land balanced and you're able to recover. So if your upper torso isn't going along for the ride, or is leading, or is pushing, or is fighting your lower torso, you're going to have a hard time with that balance. You're going to have a hard time with the recover. So what you want to see with the lunge, pushing off the back leg, kicking with the front foot, and the upper torso is engaged and finishes in a balanced position. If you have a little bit of lean forward, that's okay. But what you don't want to see is something like this, where you collapse forward in the lunge. Okay? When you are in your lunge position and you're balanced, you recover by pushing off this front leg and using your arms to help you get back into position. So it looks like this. Push and pull the arms. So all together, it looks like this. Lunge and recover. When you're lunging, you want to make sure that you engage the core muscles, because these are what are going to hold you up, your head and your shoulders, and keep them in the right position. Okay? So from the lunge, from the on guard position, when we lunge, we have to make sure that we're engaging the core from the beginning of our fencing. So it's not good enough to be in a lazy, sloppy on guard position, because when it comes time to lunge, you're going to miss the moment. So watch the difference between these two things. Example 1 and example 2. Okay. Example 1, you saw this extra movement. That was me out of position, getting into position to lunge. That extra little moment there may give my opponent time to defend himself or herself. So again, example 1 and example 2. In example 2, I'm already engaged in the core and in my legs. Okay, and balance, and I'm ready. So there are some exercises that you can do at home to practice footwork. We're gonna build a little sequence here. So the first part of the sequence is going to be one advance and one retreat. Now, if you're gonna practice this, you have to practice it correctly. So, example 1, correctly. Example 2, see if you can spot the mistake, incorrectly. What did I do differently? Well, in the first one, I did one advance and I finished it. Then I did one retreat. In the second one, I did an advance, but my back foot never came down. Now that's not what we want to practice. I'm not saying you can't do that during a bout, but you need to be able to finish your step. So we practice it this way. And remember, practice makes permanent. The things you practice in your footwork practice, that's the way you're going to fence. There's no shortcut where you practice one way and then fence another way. Okay, so we're rehearsing for actual bouting. Okay, so sequence 1 again is advance, retreat. Okay, and now sequence 2. We begin to link the footwork. So it's advance, advance, and then retreat, retreat. So we have the double advance, finish, double retreat. Don't make the same mistake we talked about in the first one, which is double advance right into double retreat. Let that back foot land. Advance, advance, retreat, retreat. Okay? That in itself, practiced well, will get you on the way to better fencing. Next section is double advance, and now we add the check back. Okay, so let's look at that again. Double advance, the check back means half step plus retreat. Okay, so here we go. Advance, advance, check back. Okay, that's the next section. Section after that we link is the double retreat, check forward. So the double retreat looks like this, and then the check forward. Again, let me do that. Double retreat, check forward. So the finished product, we have our loop. We have double advance, check back, double retreat, check forward. If you do this precisely, you can loop it, you'll feel it in your legs. Let's do a round or two. If you notice, my upper carriage is moving along for the ride. One mistake that we see with kids practicing this is, we call it the ship at sea, where you have the movement of the legs, but the body is rocking. Okay, if I do this, I get a little motion sick, so I don't want to demonstrate it too much. But we want to have the upper carriage go smoothly along for the ride. So again, bad example. Okay, good example. Doesn't mean your body's not moving, but your core is engaged and it's moving in sync with your legs. Okay, staying nice and low. The last part of the sequence is we're going to add the lunge. So it looks like this. Double advance, check back, lunge. Recover, double retreat, check forward, lunge. Now let me say really quick, just a little bit of something about this lunge here. When you're doing the lunge, you have to jump. What does that mean? Well, when you're on the edge of the pool and it's time to get into the pool, there's no half measures, okay? You're at the edge of the pool, it's time to jump, okay? When you're lunging, the same idea holds. You don't want to kind of half lunge just to mark the lunge. Because what does that mean? That means if you think about it from your opponent's perspective, you're being attacked in slow motion. Thank you, parry riposte. My point. Okay, so be precise, but be committed. For example, good lunge, not super fast, but I go and I commit to it. Okay. Lunge, not so good. You see how I'm falling? Okay, that's not what we want. We don't want to use gravity to get there. We want to use the back leg to get there. So, sequence entirely looks like this. I finish each step before I go on to the next one. It's okay to pause in the lunge if you like, once it's finished, before you recover. Okay? When you are committing to the lunge, the idea of the swimming pool and jumping and to commit into the lunge is one way to think about it. Another way to think about it is, well, like the hokey pokey, where you put your right foot in, you put your right foot out, okay? Everybody's done that. Same thing. When you lunge, you put your right side in, and then you take your right side out, if you're a right-handed fencer. Okay, same thing with a lefty. The testing criteria, if you want to pass the test and get your star on the Youth 1 board, you have to be able to demonstrate the footwork properly, which means start from a good on guard. If someone approaches me and they want to test for the footwork and they get on guard like this, it's not going to work. So, first part of the test of the footwork is starting from a good on guard. Another thing you want to keep in mind as you demonstrate the footwork is small movements. So, if you show me in advance that looks like this, technically that is correct, yes? But if I ask you, okay, let's do it again, but do it half that size, and you show me this, we have a problem. What if I say, do the smallest advance you can, and you show me this? We have a problem, okay? I need you to be able to adjust the size of your advance. So, if I say, small advance, please. Excellent. Big advance, please. Okay, now we're on the right track. Another thing you want to keep in mind is the distance your feet are apart, okay, or the distance of your stance. So if I do one advance, you see my feet are now the same distance apart. If I measure that. Okay, one retreat, my feet are the same distance apart. Okay, so good on guard, the ability to change the size of your step, small or big, depending on what the coach asks you, and the ability to keep your movements consistent with your feet apart, so we don't end up here, okay, with the legs straight and the feet together, unable to move. When testing, the lunge needs to be able to be shown with commitment. So if you're testing and you want your star, and you show me a lunge that looks like this, I'm gonna ask you to work with me and we'll fix it and we'll get you on a lunge that's gonna pass. Which means down on the legs, pushing off the back leg, kicking the front leg, and committing to it. A powerful lunge, your back foot might actually slide forward. If you watch my feet, you'll see on my lunge, my back foot actually travels. Okay, I still finish balanced in the position. On the recovery of the lunge is just as important, especially when you're testing. So from a lunge position, recover to a balanced position, kicking off the front. If you have an amazing lunge, but your recovery needs work, we'll work on it. We'll ask you to retest again. Okay, we're going to be working on a lunge exercise. What you're going to need for this exercise is a glove, preferably a fencing glove, and you're going to need a smooth surface like linoleum or some kind of flooring that isn't sticky. Certainly asphalt, pavement, or grass is not going to work for this. So what you're going to do is you're going to set your glove down. You're going to get on guard with your foot on the glove. You're going to kick your lunge and almost exaggerate the kick, and you're going to see how far you can send that glove. So it looks like this. Now, the glove, if you lunge properly, should be out in front of you and not to the side, okay? If your glove isn't traveling, what you want to do is you want to make sure that your heel is the last thing that leaves. So, you can maybe see this in slow motion, but you'll see it looks like this. The glove is out in front of me. I used an exaggerated kick to send it out in front of me in the same line as my leg. Some of the problems you might encounter if you're not able to get your glove to move is you may be doing the elephant lunge, where you're lifting the leg up and then lunging like this. Oh, I just left my glove behind entirely. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you lift the toe, keep the heel down so it pushes the glove. And again, here we go. And remember, practice makes permanent.